guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go with this really good email that was sent from a subscriber. It's from a young guy. He's only 19 or 20 years old at best, and he's writing in to share his story how a few months ago he ended a 4 or 5 year relationship with his high school girlfriend when she royally crossed the line with her effing friends. She went off to college, completely changed who she was, started hanging out with a bunch of gals that are clearly a bunch of effinists, influenced her, and crossed the line with him, and that was that. And also, in the crossing the line, she admitted, or he caught her, that she was having an emotional affair with some older guy. Big surprise. And instead of crying about it in front of her and trying to give it a second chance or buying into her BS, he kicked her to the curb. Now, our guy here obviously was hurt by this, but he handled it well. And he's writing in to share his story as another example of what can happen, how you can never feel too safe. You have to pay attention to all the things there. And it reiterates, oh, and by the way, she comes from a seriously dysfunctional family. And this backs up why, guys, you must always pay attention to what her family's like, because they're going to influence her and her behavior. Pay attention to who her friends are. If there are a bunch of gals like what you're going to see in the story, they're going to have a major influence on her, especially if she's weak-minded and a pushover. All these things. And if there's an issue, you got to nip it in the bud. And of course, if she find out she's cheating or something like that, or disrespecting you, she's gone. Life's too short, guys. You need to do what's best for you. And if you don't, it's really going to come and make your life a living hell. So sit back. You definitely will enjoy this one from a young subscriber. It says, hello SSM. I'm writing to let you know that I dumped my girl of 5 years over an argument where she disrespected me, and now her deadbeat family keeps asking me to take her back. Well, it must have been some argument, but something tells me she was probably disrespecting you for a long time, and this was it. And big surprise, her deadbeat family wants to have you take her back because they probably want her to mooch off you. I started dating my ex, Hope, when I was a sophomore and she was a freshman in high school. We were each other's first everything, and I honestly never even thought about other women. Everything was perfect in our relationship for the first 4 years. So you thought. The only fight we ever had was me refusing to go to school dances and her interpreting that as, you don't love me enough to be seen in public with me. Which just made me laugh in her face, and she apologized for being crazy. That's the type of teenage crap they usually do. I'm guessing she was probably above average looks, and therefore, of course, you were embarrassed to be with her in public. You just didn't want to go to these stupid dances. I didn't want to go to stupid dances when I was that age either. During my senior year, I met a long-term sub for one of my classes, and she offered me a job helping her husband landscape their backyard for cash. Not want to miss a good opportunity for cash, I accepted and started working with her husband every Saturday morning. Mr. R was a good man who was a professor at the local university with a really nice house with a pool and pool house. We spent hours upon hours replacing all the pavers in the backyard, around the pool, trimming trees, moving mulch, and planting flower bulbs. That's great, man. Always sees an opportunity to make some dough. One Saturday, about 2 weeks before my graduation, he offered me a full-time job. I got a buddy looking for an apprentice plumber, he said, and asked me if I knew any young guys who work hard, and he said he was willing to give you a trial run over the summer. I said yes right away because my parents had been bugging me to apply for college. I really didn't want to go to college because every teacher, guidance counselor, and adult family member were pressuring me to apply. I had really good grades in high school, 3.9 GPA, and decent testing scores, so I know I would have gotten accepted. But I have a disdain for authority and felt that if college needed so much convincing, then it was a scam. It took some convincing, but my parents relented and didn't give me a hard time about not going to school like my 3 other siblings. So you're a smart guy, but if it's not for you, it's not for you. Period. And that's okay. And if it's talking about here becoming an apprentice plumber, newsflash, gentlemen, there's always a demand for plumbers. If your toilet breaks or your sink is leaking or anything, guess what? You're going to find the money to have it fixed. Otherwise, you got a major problem here. Believe me. I've had the plumber come by twice when I moved into the new house. Just a leak under the sink and a little other minor one. Not the end of the world. But still, I'm not going to have something leaking and a small problem turn into a big problem. And think about it. You're not spending a whole lot of dough to become a plumber, to learn how to do that, to become proficient in that. While everybody else racks up tons of debt for usually bullshit degrees. Always a demand for a plumber. My apprenticeship was great, and I still work with the same company. My boss offered me a full-time position after that first summer. was over, and as an 18-year-old high school graduate, I was earning $25 an hour to work laying water lines for new subdivisions and houses. $25 an hour at 18 years old, and obviously you're still living at home at that point, so you could save that money, hopefully not pissing it away on bullshit. That's great. It's a lot of digging trenches, laying pipe, soldering, basic new construction, plumbing, etc. I love working outside most of the time and working with my hands. I also get along with all types of guys who do that sort of work. Being a conservative Catholic growing up with an ex-military father, I seem to fit in. I was still dating my girl, Hope, at the time, while she was a senior in high school. We would go out on dates, I would help her study for tests, and we were just overall best friends like we'd been for years. Well, I'm glad things are going well in your life, but when you said that you two were best friends, that's never really a good thing. I mean, you want to be with your girl, have things in common, of course, but when guys start saying we were best friends, that's usually a problem, because that's when the girl sees you more as a friend, the friend zone, than actually on the romantic level. Guys that are best friends in marriages, whatever, the butterflies have flown away. So, and I'll get more into that later. He says, Hope is a smart gal from a shitty family and got accepted into honors college for a full ride at our local university. She was the first in her family to go to college, and they were very proud of her for changing the cycle of white trashness in her family. Or he says that was her family. I moved out of my parents' home just before Hope's graduation. I bought a small farmhouse, 900 square foot, and 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom in the outskirts of town with 3 acres, about 25 minutes away from work, and about 15 from my parents' home. Good God, man, you're like 19 years old and you got the income coming in, and you obviously saved some money, and you must live in an area with a lower cost of living, but the point is, you bought a place. That is great, bro. I'm sure you're smart enough to make sure you have a good emergency fund, because when you buy a new place, there's shit that's bound to go wrong, or you need renovations here and there, just if you don't have an emergency fund, start building it up, because bullshit's going to happen. They call it the joy of home ownership. I put down my entire life savings up to that point, which was about 45% of the total price. My father was willing to co-sign with me since I had 0 credit at the time, and the bank did not want to loan a 19-year-old money. Well, I was coming to that. I figured you got a co-signer, obviously, because you're not going to have much credit at 19 years old. I will forever be in debt to my parents because they believed in me enough to risk their own credit score for me. My parents are cheap since I put down so much money down and do not struggle financially at all to make my payments. I drive the same $5,000 truck I had since I was 16 years old and live under my means. Good. Keep doing that. Your future self will thank you. So now I'm 19 years old with a house making $26 an hour after my 1-year raise. Well, soon you'll be making 30. As you get more skills and you're more valuable, start negotiating and get a higher raise. I decided to let Hope move in with me. Smack! No. Too young, too soon. I don't care if I've been with her 4 years. You only have the chick move in as you're thinking about marrying her. And don't even be thinking about marriage at 19 years old, my friend. And that also gives her certainty. When girls have certainty with guys, and they see the guys as their best friends, when bullshit happens. I thought this was the best move because we've been dating for 4 years, and all I could think about was when we got married. Smack! No! Honest to God, no. I didn't want her debt to become mine. So helping her make smart decisions to stay out of debt was in my best interest. Hope worked part-time at a job at a bakery so she could help with living expenses. That summer after graduation is when she moved in with me and was the best summer of my life. We were crazy in love, and we were hooking up constantly. Well, I hope you're getting some ass for having her move in with you. She bought the groceries, she did probably 70% of the cleaning and about half of the cooking, while I took care of the outside and fixed any problems with my old farmhouse that came up. Great, bro. I'm glad so far it's going well. I put in a very large garden and a small orchard with a variety of fruit trees. This is where the second fight we ever had, because she said I was spending too much money on my garden, and my only argument was, say that in 5 years when we have enough food coming off this land that we have to give it away to family. She conceded and let me do whatever I wanted with the yard. Whose name is on the fucking deed? Your name, not Hope. You're not engaged yet. You're not married yet. You want to put in a big garden in your fucking yard? You put in a garden. You want to put in a fucking carousel or fucking Ferris wheel. I don't care what you put in there. It's your fucking yard. Tell her my own goddamn farm down the street and she can put in whatever she wants. It was like a movie, and I was thinking my life would be perfect forever if I just stayed humble and kept my course. The problem only came when she started going to classes and made friends with a group of girls I didn't like much. Aha! Off to college, and there's probably influenced by liberal teachers and liberal friends doing liberal stupid shit. You know how this goes. A few months into class, I came home from work one day to find her new group of friends in my house. Hope jumped right up when I got home and introduced me to everyone. Then she reheated me a plate of food that she saved. I said thanks, gave her a kiss, and she went back into the living room. I could hear one of the girls say, "You aren't his slave. He's a grown man and get his own food." What I just tell you about going off to school with the liberal teachers and the liberal influences and feminism and all that shit. I'd tell that bitch to get the fuck out of my house. I'd walk right in there. Take your ass out of here, sweetheart. She'll love the sweetheart part. Take your blue-haired ass out the fucking door. Hope just brushed it off with a giggle and said, "B likes it when I make him a plate. This is his house, you know." They all dropped it, and after a few minutes, they started talking about their stupid boy drama. Shocker. Saying things about how nice it was to be free and sample all new kinds of guys they were meeting at university. How the nice guys were easy to string along for free food and homework answers. Hear that, guys? I've always been kind of a prude and didn't like hearing all that kind of talk, so after I was finished eating, I cleaned up my dishes and walked into the living room. I said, "Hey babe, I'm going out into the garden for a bit." One of the harpies was holding my chihuahua, Bane, so I called the dog to come outside with me, and she held him down and said, "I'm using Bane as an emotional support dog right now." One of these feminist harpies is holding your dog and then tells you that your dog can't come out to your garden. I'd come over there and slap her upside the fucking head. I'd tell Bane the dog, and I'm assuming Bane, even though it's a chihuahua, will behave like Bane, the character, and bite her goddamn hand off. Some nerve on her. Toss her ass out. I laughed at this one and just whistled once Bane squirmed out of her arms, and all this might scratched her up a bit and came running over to leave out the back door with me. I heard her say "jerk" under her breath as I left, and I'd be lying if I said that didn't make my day. I'm sure it made your day, but now you need to act like Clint Eastwood and say, "Go ahead and make my day if you fuck with me." Kick her out. After about an hour or so of just playing with my dog, they all left, and Hope came out and said I didn't have to be rude to her new friends. They're the ones being rude to him in his house. She is staying in his house as a guest. I told her I wasn't and could tell that my immediate dismissal upset her, but she didn't say anything else about it. Hope gave me the cold shoulder for 2 days, but eventually went back to her normal self. I wouldn't tolerate that shit. I'd say either we're going to talk, communicate like adults, or you can go back to your fucking white trash family. All right? I want to be with you, but I don't need to be with you. I want you in my life, but I don't need you in my life. Make that clear. They disrespect you in your house. You should have nipped that in the bud immediately. And don't ever bring those fucking people back in this house again. Ever. It was a slow deterioration after that. As 2 months went by, she started hanging out more with this new group of friends. Started guarding her phone more and started doing less around the house to help out. Shocker. I picked up the extra slack because I hate having a dirty home. I confronted her about helping less, and she said it was due to her homework and promised she would try harder. Do or do not. There is no try. Master Yoda was right on Dagobah, and she can be right on your goddamn farm about doing more. Period. A couple weeks after that, she started telling me about some guy friend that she met on campus. That's girl code for I really like this guy, and you're doing things I don't like, and this is your replacement. Who was in law school. I told her I was not comfortable with her being friends with the dude. She flipped out on me, calling me insecure and controlling. I just held up my hand and told her to give me her phone, something I'd never done. A look of shock and disgust went across her face, and she said no. You're talking about this guy friend, and you're calling me insecure and controlling, we got a problem here. I told her, give me the phone, or I would pack her bags and load her car right now. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're just an uneducated loser, and jealous that a real man shows some interest in me." This dude got 3.9 in high school, chose to be a plumber because school wasn't for him, and newsflash, plumbers do well. And newsflash, you start your own plumbing company, you can do really well. My plumber, he's awesome. Obviously owns his own business. He's in his 50s. This dude, from what he charges, and he's very busy all the time, I'm willing to bet you here in South Florida, given the wealthy clientele, he probably pulls in $200 a year at least. At least. He says, I'll be honest, it hurt me a lot. Hope was one of my only people in my life and told me it was okay to not go to college and pursue blue-collar work. To have her look down at me now was very upsetting and a complete 180. Bro, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you went through this, but she has been influenced by these harpies and those types at the school. It's time to cut her loose. I just went into her room and started packing her clothes and toiletries into bags. She was screaming and saying a bunch of crazy crap to me, but she had already said enough for me to make up my mind. Once she realized this wasn't a bluff, she started crying and admitted to everything. Hoe Bag Handbook Chapter 2. She had been having an emotional affair for 2 months with some law school douchebag. There you go. And I'm sure it's more than an emotional affair. What I tell you about paying attention to who a girl hangs out with. Hope said it never went physical, and they only ever talked over text while on campus. And she wonders why he had a problem with her hanging out with other dudes and stuff like that. I turned on her and looked her dead in the eyes and said I would never believe a word she said to me ever again, and that I don't even have to see her phone to know how she was unfaithful. That was when the waterworks started again, and I said something I regret. I said, like mother, like daughter, huh? For context, her parents divorced when her mother cheated on her dad years ago, and I had helped Hope through a lot of family drama and BS. Her father took her mom back, but they never remarried. That comment really pissed her off, and she yelled at me for an hour while I packed her car. When they yell and carry on, they want you to yell and carry on back. They want the drama. And believe me, it's hard not to yell right back at some chick that's, doing the same thing to you. Believe me, I've been there. Every instinct is to yell right back, but your silence, makes me nuts. We were both standing out in the driveway, and I was holding out her keys to her when I finally broke. My eyes started tearing up, and I said, please just leave. She noticed and switched from angry to crying instantly. For context, I didn't even cry at my own grandmother's funeral, which Hope was at with me, by the way. I just turned away from Hope and went into my house and broke down. Dude, there's no shame in crying, but it's advisable, don't let the girls see you cry. But you're young, I get it, because you spent all these years with her. You said yourself, you thought you were going to marry her, you thought you had a great thing going, aside from her being throwing temper tantrum because you wouldn't go to the high school dances. Sounds like you had a good thing, but look what can happen. Now, I'm hoping nothing happened behind your back while you're with her all those other years, but you never know. Says here, I broke down. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I called off work for the last 2 days of the week and just cried for 2 days. Dude, there's no shame. Okay? She was a big part of your life, it's like a death, The only girl I ever cared about, the only one I ever kissed, actually prayed to God and thanked him for letting me find the perfect one so early in life. I felt like my whole life was a sham, and I felt like a massive idiot. It was just a place to live and a way not to live with her family anymore. I called my father and mother on that Saturday because I was tired of just being sad and felt like I cried all the water out of my body. Well, good you called your parents and tell them what's going on. Don't let her control the narrative because she'll do it. My parents came over immediately. They cleaned my house and cooked a big lunch. I explained all to them. My mother cried because she loved Hope and wanted us to get married. I'd be eternally grateful for them because my mom gave me some solid advice that I'll never forget. My mom said, I kept my mouth shut for years, B, but you never should date a woman whose family is dysfunctional because it's all she knows and she will bring that into your life. That is very wise words from your mom. And that's what I talk about here. Pay attention to who a girl's family is. If they are all full of fucking turmoil and drama and dysfunction, that's what she knows. And that's going to be your life. That's going to be your in-laws. They'll be the grandparents of your kids, But I know you're young and you're learning. On that Sunday, Hope's brother showed up at my house. For context, he's a piece of crap with 2 baby mamas and a short stint in jail for dealing Mary Jane at the ripe age of 22. Oh, what a loser. He told me Hope has been seriously depressed since she came home. Apparently she won't eat or even leave her room and has not told anyone why I kicked her out. I explained him why, and he said, you need to man up and take her back. It's not like she actually... I'd be like, take your freaking white trash piece of shit self off my property before I get my you-know-what out of the closet. I cut him off and advised him I never want to see him again or his white trash family ever again. Told him to tell Hope that she brought this on herself. He looked pissed off like he wanted to hit me, but I'm 6 feet and 230 pounds, but luckily he didn't choose violence that day. He flipped me off in the driveway. 2 days after that, her father showed up in the evening. He apologized about Hope, but he also said he wanted me to take her back because that's what he did when her mom cheated. Yeah, and this guy was a damn fool for doing that. He just wants his a-hole daughter out of the house or out of the trailer. I just told him I didn't want anything to do with her anymore, but I let him come to my house to collect her last few things. That was the last time I saw or heard anything from them, and that was about 3 months ago. I've been going to the gym 4 days a week since then, focusing on lifting for strength. I've lost 15 pounds already, and I'm making progress on the big 3 lifts. I blocked Hope's number and email. I don't have any social media besides YouTube where I don't post or comment. Social media is evil. I saw how it affected people in my high school and avoided it altogether. I'm definitely not ready to start dating again and would love any advice about getting back in the saddle. I appreciate all you do, and I hope you can find some lessons here so maybe other guys will end up in a situation like me. Thanks again. Have a good day. Well, bro, you are light years ahead of most people your age. And clearly, your parents are definitely, they raised you right. And they're old school. And I get the impression you're probably, in a more conservative area and probably more, like you said, you bought an old farm. So maybe you're in the middle of the country. And I think it's great that your parents raised you the way they did. I mean, you're light years ahead. I'm glad you did what you wanted to do, became a plumber's apprentice, and you're doing well for yourself at such a young age. Good for you. I would say this, bro. Just like anything, you take it one day at a time. That's it. It's good you're going to the gym and lifting weights. Sounds like you like it. You said you're making the big improvements in the big 3 lifts. I'm assuming you mean bench press, squat, and deadlift. And keep doing what you're doing, and watch what you eat. Keep living beneath your means. You're going to be okay. And when the day comes, at your own pace, your own time, you can get back on that horse again. But when you're on that horse again, you'll be wiser. You'll know what to look for. You'll know things I talk about on this channel. You pay attention to a girl. If you start dating a chick, you see what her family's like. If they're like dysfunctional and fucked up like Hope's family, then there is no hope. Then walk away. Because I don't care how big her boobs are or how fun she is to be around, how pretty her face is. You don't need that kind of drama because you saw what happened. If she has a bunch of friends that act like those girls that came to your house, that tells you everything. So there's a lot of things you are now wiser about. And I believe you'll make you're years ahead of most people your age. And you'll just take your time, be smart about it. Don't let your dick do the thinking. Let your brain do the thinking here, and you're going to be okay. And just see where that goes. But do not rush into any relationships. Do not rush into marriage. And if you do get married one day, you never know. You worked hard to have everything you have at such a young age. For all that is sacred and holy, get an ironclad, as best of an ironclad prenup. Make sure she has her own prenup too. Really spend years with her before you get married to her. Like I said, pay attention to everything. And wait till at least your late 20s. And this is, of course, if you want to have kids one day, because if you don't want to have kids one day, what the hell's the point of getting married? But we'll see. So, bro, good for you. You handled it very well. I would have kicked her out. I would have pretty much been done once all that bullshit with her friends, but you gave it a little more time. But you handled it well, and you're going to be okay. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Give this guy a shout out, this young guy here, for handling it well. Give him some support. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.